Peter, you had a fantastic tournament record yourself, winning over 100 tournaments and championships around the world. But who were the best players, the greatest players that you played with?
I'm pretty easy to name them. They were much older than me, of course. I was a junior at the time. Sam Snead, Ben Hogan, Bobby Locke, and then into modern times like Jack Nicklaus, Palmer, and Tony Lima.
Tony Lima. Tell me about Tony Lima, because he's perhaps a forgotten name, but
yes,
a great player in his own right.
Well, you're right. He's largely forgotten or ignored, because he soon after he won the Open Championship at St Andrews in '64, he came to play again to defend his title in '65 at Royal Birkdale, and he and I played the last 2 rounds together in one day, I might tell you. But soon after that, he lost his life in an air crash, and sad to say that hardly anybody remembers him now. But I played against him face to face on that occasion, and I reckon he was one of the best players that I've ever seen.
One of the greatest names of golf, of course, is Ben Hogan. I believe you finished runner-up to Hogan in '53 at Carnoustie,
yes,
on his only visit to the Open Championship. What was it like playing with Hogan, or what kind of player was he?
Well, he was almost silent and never said a word. I don't think he was a very eloquent person, which is, I think, the reason why he's not revered now as a kind of god of golf, although he achieved so much. But he never said anything to anybody, and he never wrote anything, and there's really no record there.
And Sam Snead, an immensely gifted natural golfer. Tell me about Sam Snead.
Well, I had a great affection for Sam, and I think he had something reciprocating to me, because he invited me countless times to, say, room with him when accommodation was scarce and we had to sort of double up. He would say, well, you're coming with me, but because I didn't drink or smoke and I went to bed early, which is what suited him fine. So I got very close to him, and he was sort of like a kindly uncle to me, and I've always treasured that.
And of the modern players, how do you rate Tiger Woods among the great players that you've played with?
Well, he's up there. There's no doubt about that, by his achievements. And I would say at this point that there's never been a player of the short game, the short end of the game around the green, like him. He's just like somebody, an athlete that's broken the 4-minute mile. He's in another category now. And I suppose there'll be young people popping up all over the world who'll do that eventually. But he's the only one, I think, right now. The rest of his game, he wouldn't class him as a classic player like Snead, for instance, who wouldn't have missed a fairway in 20 years, and still hit a very long drive too. He was a beautifully made athlete who could drive 300 yards, even with the old ball.